and emotional gathering. As I begin my remarks, I would like to thank the authorities of Switzerland on behalf of myself and my nation. This is an event for the 50th anniversary of the migration to Switzerland, and I'm very happy to be with you on this important occasion. It's no question that your great fidelity and loyalty is beyond any praise, for which I would like to thank you. Through you, my important brothers and sisters who are here in the room, through you, I would like to send my greetings, my affection, my best regards to my brothers and sisters on different corners of Europe. I would like to thank our Presidency of Turks Abroad and related communities for organizing this event, as well as other NGOs who contributed to this important event. This year is the 50th anniversary of the migration from Turkey to Switzerland. Currently, we have 130,000 fellow countrymen who live in Switzerland. They have established a life or businesses in this land. They have found their future in this land, and you are no longer the diaspora, but you are Europeans. Europe is now your new country. It has become your second homeland, your second country. We are a nation whose history is full of migration. 1,000 years ago, we have come from Central Asia and made Anatolia our homeland. But we haven't stopped there. We have put one foot there, and with the other foot, we have been to all 7 climates and all 3 continents. 50 years ago, some of you have come to Europe to find bread, and in the meantime, in the 50 years that passed, they have set their roots in different corners of the continent. The first generation which came to this continent half a century ago is now replaced by the second and third, and almost the 4th generation. We no longer have just workers living abroad, but we have business people or academics or even politicians. Not just guest workers of the past, but from politics to trade, from civil society to business. In different areas of the world, we have over 6 million European Turks. You have had great success in the past 50 years, which also makes us very proud. Of course, it was not easy for you to reach this level, and beyond everything, behind every success that we had in the past 50 years, we have suffering and longing. It was a very long struggle for you. We have just seen some footage from a documentary which explains some of this suffering. For instance, Cem Karatekin has been here for 46 years, and he talks about his own life story, his own struggle. Everything that we have achieved is first and foremost thanks to God's help, and secondly our own efforts, our own sweat and tears. In the face of the struggle, you did not give up, and you tried to stand up tall in this difficult land. Even though you had a growing longing for those that you left behind, you did not give up on your goals. The half century that we left behind is the story of our fellow countrymen who turned the foreign country into their own homeland. I know there are very sad stories behind these stories. I would like to share with you a few stories which upset me every time I read them. For instance, we had a fellow countryman who explains his adventure, his journey abroad, in the following way. We were taken to the place where we were supposed to work, and I found out that it was a coal mine. I didn't say anything to anyone. I couldn't say anything to anybody, but I was actually afraid of darkness, to the level that even when I sleep, I was requiring some light. But since I had to win my bread, for 18 years I worked 1,000 meters underground in the darkness. I shed sweat, but I was never over my fear of darkness. Another brother of ours worked in a city of Europe for 18 years, but without asking for the address or without questioning, he was not able to find the address that he was looking for. Because for 18 years we always saw underground. We never saw the city itself. We never saw the overground. So we did not know the city. Not only for those who went abroad to work, but also for those who they left behind, the past 50 years have been really difficult. A young person whose parents have left for overseas explains his suffering the following way. I didn't get a chance to hug my mother the way I wanted, not even once. I would wait for 11 months so that we would spend a month together in a year. And my whole childhood was spent for the longing of this summer vacation where I could hug my mother once again. And one summer they came. But before I was over my longing for her, like a dream, she would leave my life and go back to Europe to work. My childhood was spent in waiting for my mother. Yes, this year we have left behind the 50th anniversary of the migration, and every part of it is full of such longing or such tears. It's full of such sad stories. If we are able to have more of a presence in education or in art or in other areas, it's thanks to the first generation who made such sacrifices, or the second generation who always had a longing for their parents. We should also underline the following point. Both in Switzerland and in other countries of Europe, we see the people who have set up lives for them in Europe as a human bridge. In trade, education, social life, and in civil society, the Turkish people are very successful. Every one of our brothers and sisters who live abroad, no matter which sect or which background or root they're from, they're a representative of the Turkish nation, and they are no different than any one of our 82 million citizens. This is the way we see the developments. We have people in more than 100 countries of the world, so we always reach out to them and we closely deal with their problems or their daily lives. In the past 20 years, we have made historic progress, which were not even a dream before. Exclusively for the problems of our citizens who live abroad, we have established a presidency, an agency called the Turks Abroad Presidency. In order to spread the Turkish language and culture and to communicate to younger generations, we have established the Yunus Emre institutions all over the world. We have increased the number of our embassies and consulates abroad in order to facilitate the access of our citizens to our state. Our Geneva embassy will be able to serve our citizens better thanks to the new office which was inaugurated last October. We also use technology extensively to reach our compatriots abroad and so that they can run their transactions in the electronic environment more conveniently. Your right to vote is very important for democracy. So in addition to our customs, in our representatives abroad, we have established voting polls. In the 2018 elections, for the 5th time, you have used this opportunity to vote at the polling stations. In light of the experience that we gather at every election, we improve and develop this system. From passport to diplomas, many transactions have now been facilitated and have been made simpler. You can pay for your passport fees by this way, and the fees have been halved for citizens who live abroad. Also, in sale of property to our citizens who live abroad, we have introduced an exemption of VAT. You can also get aid for birth, marriage, etc. Our citizens who live abroad have important activities as NGOs, and we have always supported their activities. In our own country and in the countries where they live, we have helped young people in every area of life, from entrance to university to finding shelter. We also organize events in which we bring thousands of our young people to their country so that they can more closely witness their own history and their own culture. We have some compatriots who come to Turkey with the vehicles that they have in their respective countries, and we have increased the duration in which they can use their vehicles to 2 years in order to eliminate an important problem that they face. Recently, we have ratified 2 more laws at the Parliament, with which we have also solved an important problem of our citizens. Foreigners who are guardians of our citizens who live abroad didn't know the system in Turkey, so some people were victimized, especially in retirement communities, in hospitals or in prisons. Through custodians, now they can extend the duration of their passport. Also, social security, social aid, and residence rights are some of the rights that some of our citizens lost, but they're fundamental rights. But now with the new amendment, the guardian or the custodian can go to our foreign representatives in order to carry out the required passport transactions.
Vatandaşlık kanunumuzda yer alan anne babası birlikte vatandaşlıktan çıkan çocuklar,
children whose parents have jointly left citizenship used to lose their Turkish citizenship, but we have also abolished this provision in law, which means at the age of 18, young people can still remain in Turkish citizenship, and hopefully in the future we will continue taking steps which will make your lives easier and which eliminate your problems. My esteemed fellow countrymen, Turkey is your homeland, but Switzerland is still your home. You live here and you produce here and you raise your children here. Without breaking your link with your homeland, you should always equally participate in the Swiss society. We are against assimilation, but we must also defend integration. We are not taking refuge in Europe. We're not foreigners, or we're not the other in Europe.
biz tarih tarih boyunca olduğu gibi bugün de Avrupa'da
Just
ev
like
sahibi.
throughout history, we are the host
İsviçre
in
Türk toplumu
Europe.
olarak Avrupa'nın
As
en
the Turkish
çoğulcu ve
community in
kültürel açıdan
Switzerland,
zengin ülkesinde çalışıyor.
you work and live in
Bunun
one
yanında
of the most diverse
tarihiyle,
countries of Europe,
kültürüyle,
with the
teknolojisiyle,
history, culture,
medeniyet
tolerance,
birikimiyle,
and with the
mazlumlara sahip
civilization,
çıkışıyla
and
dünyanın
with the
en
way it
büyük
helps the
ülkelerinden
victims.
birini
You are
Türkiye
the
Cumhuriyeti'nin
representatives of one of the greatest
vatandaşlarısınız.
nations of the world. You're representatives of the Republic of Turkey.
Asırlardır mazlum ve mağdurlara kapısını
For
açarak
centuries, we have
tüm
opened
insanlığın
our
önünde
doors
durmuş,
to the
vicdanlı
victims
bir milletin
and to the oppressed.
evlatlarısınız.
You are the children
Sizlerden
of
en saf
such a
olduğunuz
conscious
milletinizden,
nation.
dilinizden,
I would like to ask
kültürünüzden,
you to be
en
proud
önemlisi de
of your nation, your
bayrağınızdan
culture, your
gurur duymanızı
language, and
istiyorum.
your flag.
Bu bakımdan tek millet,
We are a
tek
single
bayrak,
nation, a
tek
single
vatan,
flag, a single
tek devlet.
country, and a single state.
Yola böyle devam edeceğiz.
This is the way we continue on our journey.
Bizim önceliğimiz
Our
yurt dışında
priority
yaşayan
is
gençlerimizin
to
ülkesine,
help
yani
the young
Türkiye'ye
people who live
bağımlı
abroad
değil,
to be not
bağlı bir
dependent
anlayışla
on their
en büyük
country, but
temennimiz
rather
ise
to be loyal to their country.
sizlerin İsviçre'de mensubu bulunduğunuz
And most
yerel
importantly, in
siyasi partiler,
Switzerland, you are
sivil
members
toplum
of local
kuruluşları, iş
political
çevreleri
parties,
ve
NGOs,
sektör
business
güçleri ve
circles,
eğitim kurumları
uh,
aracılığıyla
job
siyaset,
organizations, and education
ekonomi ve
institutions.
kültür
And through this,
alanlarında
in politics,
etkinliğinizi
economy, and
artırmalısınız.
culture, you should increase
Bilhassa
your presence.
yabancı karşıtlığı,
Especially as
İslam
xenophobia
düşmanlığı
and
ve
Islamophobia
kültürel ırkçılık gibi
and cultural
sizlerin can ve
racism
mal
are on the
güvenliğini
rise, which
doğrudan
threaten
ilgilendiren
your
konularda
lives and your property
dayanışmanız
directly.
çok
In
önemli.
such issues, it's important for
Norveç'te
you to show
2011
solidarity.
yılında yaşanan
In Norway, in
Breivik katliamı
2011, there
önlem
was a
alınmazsa,
massacre that took
dikkatli
place in Breivik,
olunmazsa
and if we do
bu
not
sınırın
take
ne derece
measures or be careful,
sebebiyet gösterdiğini
it is an indication what
Barış Pınarı
racism can
Harekatı'nın
cause.
sonrasında
After
tüm
our
Avrupa
Peace Spring
ülkelerinde
operation,
yaşanan
in certain
kısıtçı
European
hadiseler
countries, there have
yurt
been
dışındaki
some upsetting
vatandaşlarımız
incidents
için
which took place,
sakınç sınamaların
which are
habercisi.
an
Daha çok
indicator
çalışarak,
of
daha fazla
important tests
örgütlenerek,
for our
birlik
fellow
ve
countrymen.
beraberliğimizi
We should
daha
work
sıkı
harder,
tutarak
organize
bu
better,
süreçte
we should unite,
atlatacağımıza inanıyorum.
and I believe we
Bu
will
düşüncelerle
overcome this
sevginiz,
period.
ilginiz,
Once again, I would
coşkunuz,
like to thank you for
her
your
birinize
enthusiasm and
ayrı
your
ayrı
interest.
teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum. Bugün burada olmayan vatandaşlarıma da
And I would like to send
selamlarımı
my cordial greetings to my
vesileyle
citizens who are not
muhabbetlerimi
here
iletmek
today.
istiyorum. Hepinizi Allah'a emanet
Once
ediyorum.
again,
Sağ
may
olun,
God protect you.
var olun,
Thank
kalın
you
sağlıcakla.
and be
Amin.
well.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, zati devletlerinizi plaket töreni için bir müddet daha sahnede ağırlayacağız. Şimdi anavatan Türkiye'den İsviçre'ye göç eden birinci nesilden büyüklerimizle yeni nesilden gençlerimize Türk toplumuna sağladıkları katkılardan ötürü plaket takdim edilecektir. Kendilerini sahneye davet ediyorum. Alaaddin Dursun, Sayın Cem Karatekin, Sayın Hidayet Alada, Sayın Ali Mutaf, Sayın Hüseyin Öztürk, Sayın İlhami Dağcı, Sayın Anisa Demirtaş,